Hello, welcome to our second Secret Sewing Club. It's November the 17th. We've got an interesting mix today. I'm just going to mute that's better because I can hear all sorts of things coming back at me here, which I don't like. So, all sorts of things going on today. We have Endless Threads, we have Row and Dean Embroidery, and we also have Fabric Freedom as well. So let me go and get everybody, and here we go. There you go, everyone. Can we all see each other? Yes. There we go. There we go. Oh, we got lots of hellos coming in. I'll be honest, we're probably not going to get through everybody. But that's okay. We're all glad you're here, but yeah, we don't want to spend time going through everybody's names. We want to get to the good bits. So, first of all, let's say hello to everybody. So, Katrina at Rowan Dean, how are you? Do you want to give us a wave?
It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this, being here with you this afternoon. We've got lots to show you. I hope you enjoy the show.
And then we've got Gail at Endless Thread.
Hello, welcome everybody. I'm glad you could all join us. You have to excuse me for a bit of a cough.
Oh,
but I've got frosty things to bring to you as well.
Excellent. So, I think mine's gone really loud there. Let me just see if I can get that down. Right, let's try that. Is that better? Just if people can let us know if there's any problems in terms of sound and things, let me know. I will try and fix things as we go along. So, Gail, what have you got?
Oh, well, I think everybody's been waiting for this, but I've got a lovely little Santa. So, thank you. And we've got some little gnomes. So we've got some gnomes, and I've got some little mini Santas, and I've got lots of offers on the website. So I thought, as an introduction to me coming on to the show, yeah, I've got lots of little offers on there and lots of.
Brilliant, thank you. And then we've got Sasha as well. You were here last week, but you've got a different hat today.
I've got a different hat, and I'm in a different city. So it was an early start. I'm up in Bradford, and yeah, I am here for, obviously, Fabric Freedom.
Splendid, splendid. So, you're very close there. I don't know what quite happened there. That's fine. Oh no, it's not you. It's this on here. I will fix it before you do your bit. So, couple of orders of business. The way that this works is different to maybe what you've seen on Create and Craft before. What happens here is you don't deal with any one set point. So on Create and Craft, you dealt with one website and everything came through them. That doesn't happen here. You'll see QR codes pop up in the corners. Let me just see, there's one there. There you go. You'll see QR codes pop up in the corners. If you use your phone to scan those, that will pop up the website of the people that you are dealing with. So you don't buy, nothing comes directly through us. It all comes directly from whichever supplier you are buying from. And that actually works out better for all of us because we don't have that extra, I'll not tell you what the percentage was, but that extra percentage that goes out to things like Create and Craft or any other third party, everything that you buy from here today goes directly to that supplier. So, who did Rowan Dean? Katrina, it was you up first, wasn't it?
It is.
Are you ready?
Are we ready to go? Let's go.
Oh, okay, then no problem. It's all yours.
Okay. Great to show you here today. We've got some mini designs. These are real favorites with our customers, and I think you'll like them. So the first one is called Foxglove's Candy Mountain, and the second one is called Larkspur Little Rockets. So these are two miniature designs, easy to do on different fabrics, but really as a beginner or just an enthusiast for stitching, they're lovely to do. So I'm going to show you a little bit about those first. So I've got my finished ones in front of me. There are 2 designs. They're worked on a tweed. Now this tweed is really quite special. It's something that we have woven for us, and it's beautiful to stitch on. You can use it with very textured threads or very, very fine threads. So we have 2 designs. The first one on Candy Mountain is on a natural coloured fabric, and the one with the little rockets is on the pistachio fabric, and it's really, really beautiful to stitch. These are the finished ones, but I'm just going to show you what you actually get in your kit to actually start. So in your kit you will get a printed fabric, you'll get the organzas if the kit has organza in, and the print is on the fabric. Now that's quite special because it's got a guide, it's got a starting point for where you're going to stitch, and I think that's quite important. And then of course you get all the lovely colours that you've got here. We have them all on an organizer, so that they're easy to get to, and you can see the range of colours. So threads, I mean, the reason why we started Rovendine is I just love threads and I love stitching. So you'll find that in the kits that I design, you've got a mixture of textures. You've got some woolen threads, you've got lovely variegated threads. So the variegated threads are fabulous. The magic just happens as you start to stitch. You don't need to plan where the threads are going to go. You just see what happens when you start that thread. So everything's there in the kit for you to work with. You've got the needles, and then if your kit has beads and sequins, you'll get those in there as well. You'll get lots and lots and lots of texture that you can create with those. And of course, this is almost like painting with thread, freestyle. You just do as much of the stitching as you want to do, and you'll see your design develop really, really quickly. So I'm just going to take those out of the way to start with. So the first thing to do is obviously you're going to place the organzas on the fabric. Now, one of the reasons that I do this is you're going to actually put a little bit of fabric, a little bit of colour on the fabric, and that's going to stay in place, and it's your stitching that's going to hold that in place. And you're just going to pin that on, not to the cloth underneath, of course. Just take the pins and just place that. You'll be able to see the print through the fabric. And then the next thing is you're going to put your work into a hoop. And I think these are great hoops. These are in our essential toolkit, if you like. There are 3 sizes of these, and they're brilliant, really, really good. It's called a spring hoop. So later on at the next demonstration, I'll show you the other hoop, but this 5-inch hoop is really, really good to work with. So to do this, to put your work into your hoop, so easy to do. Place it on the flat surface and then just put your fabric over the top, and then you just hold the spring and then release. And that's going to keep it in place. And so as you're ready to stitch, you've got something to hold there, and it keeps everything, the fabric taut, especially if you're using different textured threads. You'll get, it's not going to distort the fabric. So you've got the fabric on there. The next thing really is to actually start your stitching. So I've started one earlier on. I've tacked, so that my pins aren't in the way, I've tacked a little bit of a temporary stitch just to hold it all in place, and then you're ready to stitch. So the basis of a lot of our designs is straight stitch, and that is so easy to do. So I'm going to start with this. I can see my print underneath, and I'm using a needle that's called a chenille needle. So it's really good. It's just, all it means, sharp point and a large eye. And that means you can use textured yarns, you can use knitting yarns. And this particular thread is from the Shetlands. It's from a company called Jameson, and it's mostly for knitting, but it's got beautiful flecks of colour in there, and it's nice to stitch with. So I've got my thread, they're cut to a length, and I'm going to use a knot. That's up to everybody else whether you want to start with a knot or not, but I'm just going to start with the stitching, and you're just going to bring the thread up from the back of the fabric, and then you're going to do a little straight stitch. So you're going to work the stitches really, really, just enjoy the stitching. The beauty about this kind of stitching is that you can relax and enjoy the threads and the colour and chat at the same time. So you're just going to use the thread, and then you're going to change direction, and then you're going to just carry on stitching. So in the effect, I'm just creating some leaves, the foliage of the plant. So unlike a lot of things, it's not actually perfect foxglove. You know, I'm using the thread to create the textures and actually enjoy the process of the stitching. That's the main bit. It's a relaxing hobby. If you've not tried it, then give it a go. And as you start to stitch, you'll be able to get to a point where you can fasten off. So this is where you fasten off and you take the threads and you just wind a couple of threads around just once or twice, and that's just going to keep the threads secure. And obviously, from all those years ago stitching, I don't care what the back looks like, and just it doesn't matter what the back looks like. So don't worry that it's got to be as neat on the front as it is on the back. Just everything's going to be framed. Nobody's going to see anything else but your beautiful stitching. So first of all, straight stitch, easy to do. And the next one, that's one of my favorite stitches, is a French knot. And I don't think I've ever done a program without doing French knots, or a kit without French knots. So it's a great stitch to do, and you should really enjoy the stitch. And I think if you see the stitch happening, it's quite nice and it's quite easy to do. So I've got this time, I've got my thread. I've got 6 strands here. So I'm using, that's quite a heavy thread. And I'm just going to take the thread and I'm just going to hold it in the hoop about a couple of centimeters above the surface. And then I'm just going to go around once, twice. And as you tilt the needle point down, just go not into exactly the same place, but just almost. And as you push the needle into the fabric, then tighten the thread. And that just sort of keeps it twizzled around the needle, and it keeps it from unraveling. So when you're ready to pull the thread through, you're just going to take the thread and then let it travel in on its own. It'll do its own thing. Don't guide it with your finger, just actually let it just travel in, and then it doesn't get in a knot. So as you go through, you get into the rhythm of the stitch, and you can just keep doing those once, twice over the print, and then eventually you'll get to the stage where you fill in between the print. So the way to do is to get the shading right on this candy mountain. It's just a fabulous colour. It's shades of different colours of pink. So you can work the dots first, and then you can go over and add other colours. Obviously in the instructions, it'll give you more details as to the actual colours on the thread card. But really, it's not set in stone.
So say hello, Haley. Say hello to Haley.
So I'm just going to do it. I'm carrying on.
Haley?
Yeah, I just wanted to check. That's the Foxgloves Candy Mountain one. And can you just give me the price on that one? Because there's a couple of people asking.
$13.95.
Well, if you can just hang on for a second, I'll show them exactly where that is on your website.
Okay.
And then they can have a chance to have a quick look for it as well. So just give me 1 second. I will pull your website up. There we go. And I'll switch that across. So many buttons. So many buttons. There we go. Okay, so that's the kit that you can see there. As we said before, everything that we are showing you on here, that is all done directly through Rowan Dean's website. So the QR code that you see there, that will take you straight to here, which is the homepage of the Rowan Dean website. And then that one that Katrina's just demonstrated there, you can see is this one here, Foxgloves Candy Mountain. So I shall give you back to Katrina, and she can continue on with her beautiful demonstrations.
Thank you. Okay, and once you've had a go at these stitches, you'll see them in lots of different designs. So whichever kit you're working on or you're choosing, I will use French knots, so they're great. They're just great to do. And I'm just going to take that and just fasten that thread and just fasten that off at the back. So another stitch that I think is very useful, my mum would have called it lazy daisy. You can call it detached chain, whichever you prefer. It's a great stitch for, it's probably the one that you would have seen on a tablecloth, or you could, it's just a lovely design to do. So whether you call it lazy daisy or you call it detached chain, that's it, it doesn't really matter. But I'm just going to use 6 strands. So this time I'm going to take the needle, I'm going to go straight into the back of the fabric and then just bring the needle back. And I always tend to do it towards myself so that the needle is facing me, and then I'm tucking the thread underneath and I'm gently going to pull that thread, and that forms the first link of the chain. And so I'm just going to hold that link down, and I'm just going to take the thread and then just slowly rotate your work, and you're just going to go round and round. So this is where that daisy effect comes into it, and you're just going to take the thread, and so wherever you bring the needle out on the surface, that's the length of the petal, and then you're just going to hold that thread in place, and you just work round all the way around. So you can make them uneven or you can make them even. So this kind of stitching is really very forgiving in that, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just enjoy this, just enjoy the threads and enjoy the stitching, and that'll give you a great, it's just a great satisfaction when you've stitched something and you're really just creating a little bit of magic. And you can see that the variegated threads there, they'll all be different on everybody's kit, because, you know, you're just creating an individual design. Really good. I'm just going to fasten that little bit off there. And I'm just going to show you how one last thing on this design, and that is, if you're going to start and you're going to use beads, they're great. You don't have to use them all, but in your kit you'll find you've got a different needle, a milliner's 10 embroidery needle, and it's just easier to thread than a bead needle, and you get a thread that is just not going to stretch. So as you start and take your bead, you bring the needle from the back. It's not going to drop when you actually apply it to the fabric. So you pick up the bead, and then you're just going to take that bead and just secure it in place. And obviously you can add as many or as few as you wish. Obviously, I think if you're putting on this panel on a cushion or a jacket, then, you know, you can go through the needle several times with the beads, and then the sparkle. You just get a little bit of sparkle there, and then you can start adding the textures, and you can add as many as you want. You'll put too many in. I think Ted always says I put too many beads and too many sequins in, but, you know, you never know, you might want to add them all or save them for another project. So this design will come on really quickly in the miniatures, the same as the larkspur little rockets. You're going to have a couple of really easy stitches to work with and secure your sequin just with the thread. And again, if I'm just going to bring that back and just bring back the finished things, you can see again here that I've done my columns of flowers. I've just started a little bit of adding the texture, and then we'll probably do a loopy French knot on those. So the same stitches really are going to be on the other design. This one's on the pistachio fabric, which is lovely to stitch with. And it starts off again here. Again, you've got the fabric. The fabric is printed, and you've got all your design on there. This one, it's a really, really easy way to stitch. You've got a print the size of the stitch to start with, so that'll give you a guide as to the size of the stitches that you're going to need. And then you can add the French knots in the columns again. So as you start off with your French knots, you just get smaller and smaller, and to make the stitch smaller, you just go round the needle once with the thread. So I'm just going to put my work back back over here. So I call it a single turn French knot. It's easy to do, and it'll just mean that as you start to stitch, instead of going round the needle twice, you just take your thread and you're just going to go around once, and it's going to make a smaller knot without you having to fasten off the threads, and you'll just get a great effect. So you'll get that flower to go to a point and finer as you get closer to the top.
Katrina, I've got some lovely messages for you. I've got one from Gillian Walker. It says, the new kits are gorgeous. I love stitching anything from Rowan Dean. I love doing French knots. Stitching is so mindful and relaxing. So it's a big thank you from her.
I didn't hear that.
Not coming through for you.
No.
Say thank you to Gillian.
Thank you, Gillian.
Yeah, just thank you, Gillian. That'll do. Oh, she also says she keeps the leftover beads and she uses them on other projects. So she really appreciates the amount you give in the kits.
Oh, yeah, I know. You could probably do several kits with the amount of beads that I put in the kit. So well done. Save them all up and create a tapestry of colour with them.
Excellent. I'm going to pop everybody else back in. Just give me a second. I need to unmute them. Oh, Sasha, what are you doing? There's fingers everywhere. Oh, she's back. Right. I just had to hang fire a second there because Sasha was all
fingers. There we go. Excellent. Thank you so much, Katrina. We have got more questions coming in, but I'll maybe come back to them in a second. There's a few people saying they can't hear me, which I will try and work on in the meantime. But we'll crash on. So let me have a look. Who's next? Were you going next, Sasha? Because I know you've got your Fabric Freedom hat on today, and what I have got my Fabric Freedom hat on. Let me just switch it over, and then I can show you the Fabric Freedom fabrics that are on, and then Sasha can go and do a lovely quick demo on them. So if I just go back to here and switch this in. So currently the Fabric Freedom ones are through the Craft Yourself Silly site. That is just because they don't have a retail site. They don't generally go direct to the consumer. In future it will be through Sasha, but for now, if you head to the Craft Yourself Silly site, head to Secret Sewing Club. Oops, there you go, Secret Sewing Club, 17th November, and then you'll see the Fabric Freedom logo there. So you've got loads of beautiful fabrics on here. There's some really good prices on these charm packs as well. Most I know have 40 pieces, but there is one. Which one is it? Let me double check. It is Christmas Leaves, which is this one here. This one, double bubble. Double bubble on that one. You're getting 80 in that charm pack, so an absolute bargain. So let me go and find everybody. There we go. And are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. Well, let's go and see what Sasha's up to then. Oh, hang on. You're gonna have to wait there for just a second, Sasha, because for some reason your thing is super zoomed in, and I'm not entirely sure why. You've got quite a close up for no particular reason, and I don't know how I'm going to fix it. Let me just try that one. Aha! I've got you. No, I'm on it.
And make my legs bigger.
No, I've got you. I've got you.
Okay.
There you go. You're back in the room, and here you come. Bye.
See you soon. Hi everyone. So yes, I am here today for
Katrina and Gail. I'm just going to mute you off for now.
As Hayley was saying, all the charm packs that I'm going to be bringing you today, you can find on Hayley's Craft Yourself Silly. That's just because my website has only just launched this week, and we didn't know if it was going to launch in time. So as I say, you'll be able to find it in the future, sashasews.com. But what have we got? Now, Hayley has got all the prices. I haven't got all the prices. So I might have to get Hayley to interrupt and just come in so we can get the prices up. But the first one that I am going to be using today and I'm going to be showing you is the double bubble one. Now this is the Christmas poinsettia. Now I wonder if, oh, look at that. Is that going to be any better? No, it's not my usual setup, so you're going to have to bear with me. So on this one, we have got red and white, and we have got 80 pieces in here, and we are looking at, they have all got gold metallic on them. So they have all got a gold metallic print, which is amazing for all of those Christmas projects. First of all, we've got the poinsettia leaf. And then we've got these amazing, like, gold dusted stars in there on the white. And I know that that one actually as a fabric was one of your favorites. You'll love that one. And then you go through again, and we have got the red with the gold vines. And then the final one is the white poinsettia with the gold. Again, absolutely stunning. Really, really is beautiful. Great for all those Christmas projects, but it also is very wintry. It doesn't necessarily scream Christmas. Yes, you've got your poinsettias on here, but again, that could be just for the winter. You know, there's nothing that shouts Christmas. There's nothing that's spelling Christmas out or anything like that. So again, you're getting some great designs in here. And don't forget, this is your double one. So you are getting 80 5-inch squares. Now, if nobody knows what it is, Charm Pack Jelly Roll Layer Cake, licensed by Moda. These are our 5-inch squares. Basically, they're our fabric squares that we do at Fabric Freedom. Always really, really popular with you. So this is your 80-piece one. And Hayley, how much is that one?
The 80-piece one is $24.99.
Okay. So the next one I've got is a couple of paste colours. Now these are going to be a bit of a nightmare to show you because these are white on white, and these have got a design. Now I wonder if I've got a squeaky chair. I do apologise. That's not my bones creaking. That is the chair. Does that, can you see that any better? I'm just waiting for the camera to, so you'll see you've got this beautiful little leaf print on here. Again, it's those white on whites. These ones are all the same. So you're getting 40 pieces, white on white. So we have got a leaf design, and then we have also got like a contemporary poppy design on there. I'm just hoping that we can see that one okay. And then I'm going to show you the contemporary poppy. These were always a nightmare to show you on screen because you can't sort of pick up the white on white. Oh yeah, you can sort of pick that up a little bit better. But then this is like a contemporary poppy, a really nice shape all over the white design. So if you are looking for something like your lap quilts and you don't necessarily want a really, really heavy print, white on whites, cream on creams are always amazing for that. So we have got those, and then we have got Melody. Now the Melody charm packs always they're so popular. These are all the same color, so all of your 40 squares are whatever color we go through. You are getting 20 squares of butterflies and 20 squares of the marble. So we have got purple, and again we have got the matching marble as well. Hang on, let me find the matching marble as well. So we've got purple, we have got orange. Look at me speaking French. We have got the marble in there as well. My absolute favourite, and your favourite as well, is the jade. Absolutely love this colour. It's like a tealy turquoise, and again you've got your marble. Then we've got the golden yellow. We've got cerise pink. I don't know if we're calling this one magenta or what we're calling this one, but this is more of a purpley toned one. And then we've got the royal blue for you. So again, what price are those, Hayley?
Let me just check for you. They are $11.99, and the one you weren't sure of the name of is magenta.
Magenta. See, look, good memory. So Molly Miles has said she's got these. They are beautiful. They are absolutely stunning. Now I have got quite a varied. Let me get some more Christmas ones up a sec. So I've got 2 Christmas ones. Now slightly different. Okay. They have got your, or are they slightly different, or are they the same? Yes, this is swirls, and this one has the green and the white. They are all with gold metallic on. This is a dotty swirl, which again is your red, your white, and your green. Again, great for Christmas, but it doesn't necessarily have to be for Christmas. They haven't got Christmas written on them or anything like that, but you are getting your 40 pieces in each one. And again, they're just so quick and easy as little projects. Right, I'm just going to show you 3 more, and then I'm going to go to demo, because we can have another look at the couple that I have got later on. But we have also got some positive and negative now. So we have got the brown leaf, and again we've got the brown with the white leaf, and then we've got the white with the brown leaf. So basically it's that positive and that negative you're getting. This one is a really different color. This one is sort of like a burnt rust color, really, really pretty. Again, you have got that positive and negative, and then you have got this beige as well. So again, they work so well together. So obviously, if you want to purchase any of these, if you go on to Hayley's Craft Yourself Silly, I better lift myself.
I'll just put the website on there for you now while you're busy adjusting your cameras. So if you go on to Craft Yourself Silly and then into Secret Sewing, 17th of November, that's where you'll find all of these, and then you've got all of those beautiful designs that Sasha has just talked you through. And here she is again. Pink.
So we are going to have a look at a really beautiful block that I absolutely adore doing. Okay, now this is your 3D pinwheel, and I love this. Now I've used one of the Christmas charm packs. I've popped some linen with it, but you can get the same effect using calico. And we're going to go through, I'm just going to move you back down, and I am going to go through with you how we are going to make this beautiful block. Now you will see it is 3D. It's very tactile. It's the reason I love it. But when all the squares are together, it looks so amazing. So it's great. You can do a cushion, you can do a cushion, but I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. So I'm not going to cut these squares down. Okay, we are going to use 5-inch squares, and I'm just going to lay these out in front of me like so. Now this, as I say, is the poinsettia one, which again got that beautiful gold on there. Really, really looks pretty. Now I just want to make sure that you can actually see what I am doing. Now you are also going to take your squares, okay? Now what you are going to do, and I just get everything out the way. So I'm using a linen, but as I say, you can use a calico, you could use the white if you had this pack and wanted to do like red and white, that would work. And you're going to take your squares and you are going to fold whatever you want your pinwheel to be you're going to fold it on the diagonal. Now this folded side is going to be placed like so. Your folds are always going to be towards the middle, and your raw edges are going to be around the outside, because obviously you want to get those trapped into the center. Now you are then going to fold one of those corners. So I'm folding the left into the right. Oh, Alexandra, she's busy watching and stitching, and she didn't realise her bobbin ran out. Don't you just hate that? Don't you just hate that? Love this 3D pinwheel. I know, this is one of my favourites. I love it. So then we're going to take another, and again we're going to fold that. Now obviously if you've got an iron set up, that's really, really good. You can give it a press as well. So always my raw edges are against my raw edges, and I'm going to pull that top part down there. I'm going to show you this in a second so it's nice and clear for you, like so. And then you're going to carry on and you're going to do that again and again. Now this makes, as I say, we're using 5-inch squares, but as long as you use the same size square for all, so you could use 2.5 inches, 4 inches, anything, as long as they are all the same size. So again, we are going to fold that like so. That one's going to go there. No, that one's going to go there. See, you just got to make sure your raw edges are always with a raw edge, because you want this to be trapped. And that one is going to come up. And it's quite easy to follow the ups and the downs and where because you'll see it coming together. And obviously you want it in that pinwheel shape. So then the last one, we're going to do like so. And that is going to go there. And then this one is going to go over to that side. Right. Okay. So can you see that is your shape? Okay. Now I'm just going to tilt you down just a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. So I start to join, you're going to join into pairs. So I tend to join my left to my right, my bottom left to my bottom right, and then I have that nice center margin, my center seam going along. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do it. Because you are getting a little bit of a chunk of fabric here, you can push your seams to one side, or you can do them open. You can open your seams out and give them a press. So again, it's completely up to you, whatever way you choose to do it. But I'm just going to take this over to the sewing machine. Have I got time, Hayley, to stitch this one?
Yes, absolutely. You can get that one stitched together, and then we'll head off to see Endless Threads and Gail.
Perfect. So I'm not going to move the camera again because I want you to see what I'm. Now, as you can see on here, okay, I've stitched all the way up, and when you open this out, I want to make sure that that seam is either to the left, to the right, or you've opened it, okay? But I'm going to do it that way, and then I'm going to do this and that one. I'm going to stitch right the way down that one. And again, make sure that you've caught all of those beautiful seams in there. Just need to just make sure that that one's completely caught as well. Oh, hang on. Right. So There we go. So I'm going to go to the left because it's a little bit easier because I haven't got a sewing machine. I haven't got an iron in here with me. I haven't got it out the car yet. I am folding my seams, and then you are going to push together, and one will go to the left and one will go to the right. So what are they doing? They're having a little snuggle. Less, having a little cutch. And then you are going to pop some pins in if you need to. If not, you can just hold it in place. Make sure that you are getting everything lined up beautifully. I just need to move that one slightly.
Sasha, I've got a message from Ed Drake.
Yeah.
They say, I've made these. They're lovely to make. They did them in a different size for cushions and made them as pin cushions as well.
Oh, bless. Hang on, sewing machine's just having a moment. Made them as pin cushions.
Yeah, with smaller squares. Started out with smaller squares.
Perfect. And that's the thing. That's what's so great about them. You can actually do them so that you can do them in. You could do 1 inch if you wanted to. You can do whatever size you want. But again, they are very, very effective as a pin cushion. Right, get that cut there. And let's take the pesky pins out wherever I've hidden them. Like so. And then you are just going to give it a really, really nice press, or I'll sit on it over the next half an hour. And so you can see, I mean, it will make a beautiful runner as well if you wanted it to be a runner, but I like them as a cushion. Now, if I was going to do these as a cushion, I wouldn't use 5-inch squares. I'd probably take it down to 3-inch squares, maybe 4-inch squares at a push. But you can just see how delightful these really, really look. And there we are.
Muted. Let's try that again. Welcome back, everybody. They can hear me, but I don't think you can hear me. If you've got any questions for later on, then absolutely get them in. We'll feed as many in as we can as we go, but we do have usually 5-10 minutes at the end if there's any extra questions that you want to ask. Now, Gail, you look ever so ready. Oh, I think, have I still got you muted? How rude. There you go. You're back in the room. Now I can hear you. It's because I've been doing too many buttons at once. That's what it is. Too many buttons.
Well, I'm glad you're in control because I've got some buttons.
I mean, I think you should use that term loosely, but I shall hand over to you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's really lovely to be here. An introductory because I'm here. If you go to the link for my page, you'll see that everything that I've got on the show today has all got reductions on there, somewhere between 10 and 40%. So there are some bargains. So why not check out the website? A couple of things I want to share with you. So if you really look behind me and you can see there's a quilt and my stockings and that. I brought the patterns along for that. Lots of people always say to me that they've bought a kit and then they want to make more things and can they buy fleece from me? Well, sadly, I don't sell fleece because I just haven't got the space where I live. But now, because I'm working with Hayley at Craft Yourself Silly, she's got all the fleece and we buy the fleece from the same place. So the fleece that she stocks is exactly the same stuff that I put in my kits. So you can be reassured that if you want to make additional things, then you can get all the fleece from Hayley at Craft Yourself Silly. And finally, on that subject, just my little reindeer. So lots of you have made reindeer from the Santa's Pals range, and lots of you ask me where I got the fur from. Now, it's not the fur, but it's something very similar that Hayley's got on her website, like a bookly.
I think it's this one. Oh. Oh. This one is the one you're after.
So that's perfect for Santa's Pal 3. So I just thought I'd share that with you. I haven't got him on the on the page today, but so many of you have got the pattern. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was my new pattern. That's the Holly Jolly Santa. So I've got a kit for him, and I'm going to do a little demonstration on him in a second. And also, if you take a look at the page, we've got all the gnomes, and they've got full kits for all of those as well. I think there's about £3 or £4 knocked off each one, and all 4 gnomes are on there. I won't bother going through them and showing you them all today, because the pictures on the website are so much nicer. And there's a few other things on the website as well. There's some lovely red work on there, and some pre-printed panels. So I might be in the later demo, I'll show you that. So let's get on with the Holly Jolly Santa. So we had a little competition, Hayley, so for people to name, if they could work out what the name of my Santa was, and the lovely Winnie Taylor, she won a complete kit for Holly Jolly. So that's another thing as well. Have a look at the websites and that, because people are always doing like little offers and competitions and things like that. Might be something for you to get involved in. So I'm going to pop you now, as if by magic, onto the overhead so we can have a closer look at him. So there he is in his glory. So I want to do a little bit of demonstrating to show you how easy he is to make. So if I turn him over, we can see that he's made from a section of red and white fleece. So how I made him was I took my red fleece, okay, folded it in half. You've got a pattern in your kit, and it shows you to join, so you can see a joining line on there. So you'll join the 2 pattern pieces together. You've also got the ribbon in your kit. Normally it doesn't matter which way round you put the ribbon, but this time it does, because the ribbon's only single-sided. It's got a candy strip on one side. So we're going to fold the ribbon wrong sides together, okay, and we need to tuck this between the 2 layers of fleece. So you can see I've got my 2 layers of fleece here. One of the things lots of people ask me, so I'm just going to cover that quickly, which is the wrong side and the right side of the fleece. Sometimes you can tell easily, because the one side, the right side, has got a bit more of a pile on there. Sometimes when it's white, it's really challenging to work out which is the right or the wrong side. So what I suggest you do is you take your fleece, okay, and if you give it a little tug, you can see it's not got much stretch that way. But if we tug it the other way, you can see it's got a lot more stretch. So the way to work out is if you pick the side with the maximum stretch and you pull on there, okay, can you see that the fleece starts to curl around? And as it's curling round, it's curling round to the back, okay? So the other side, so that's the right side. So if I've got a piece of fleece and it's laid down like that, I find the stretchiest side, and if I pull on it, and it curls round, okay, it's always curling to the back. So this would be my right side. So that's just a little tip for all your pieces of fleece that's left around. So I'm going to take my pattern, lay it on my fleece, take my ribbon, this is my hanging loop. I'm going to pop it between the 2 layers of fleece, and I want it to line up with the top of my pattern. So I'm going to put the 2 pieces like that, and I'm going to stick a pin in there. And I'm going to stick the pin in securely so that I know that the ribbon is held in place. And then I'm just going to pop 2 more pins in my pattern. Now, if you don't know me and you've never seen me before, and this is the first project you've ever seen me do, what I tend to do a lot of the time is I pin my pattern to my fleece and then I stitch around my pattern. The reason for that is because the fleece has got a little bit of stretch in there. It means that everything stays secure. And because fleece can be a little bit thick underneath your machine, the machine foot is going to sit on equal amounts of fleece, so you're not going to have it dropping off the edge, and it makes for a much neater and an easier a much neater finish. Not so bad with a shape like this, but if they're more intricate shapes, it makes it so much easier. So once I've done that, I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew all the way up the side, across the top and down the bottom. And on your pattern, it will tell you to leave this side open. Then once I've done that, I'm going to trim back the excess fleece. Now, as if by magic, here's a teeny tiny one. So I don't know whether I should put the overhead a little bit closer so you can see a bit closer. Let's see. Okay, so you can see I've trimmed back the excess fleece. You're going to use your pattern piece again, and this time you're going to do it with the white, okay, to give you the second part. And you can see this is just a mini version just for demonstration. I've done it with the white. Now what I'm going to do to join the two pieces together, I'm going to turn the white one through the right way, okay, and then I'm going to tuck the white one inside the red one. I haven't turned this one through, okay, so I'm putting the two sides together, and then I'm going to match up the seams. Now just remind yourself when you're doing this, okay, what you want is right side to right side, or wrong side on the outside, wrong side on the outside, and then you're going to get some pins or some clips, and then you're going to clip it or pin it in place, and then match the other seam allowance on the other side too. Okay, I'm just pop another pin in there, and then you'll find that the edge will match up nicely all the way around, so you can stick another pin in there if you want. Then you're going to take it to the sewing machine, okay, and you're going to sew from this seam all the way around to this seam, leaving this edge open. So once you've done that, it will look like this. So you can see I've sewn the seam, this edge is open, and then I'm going to put my hand in and I'm going to pull the piece out, turn the other piece through, and then I've got this lovely piece joined together with a nice seam, leaving the middle open. Now that's the kind of way you'd also do the stockings. So here's the larger one now. I'm going to bring the larger one back, and that's the way I line. So the stockings that were all behind me earlier, that's the way I line all of those as well. And then once I've turned this through, to keep the my little Santa with having a nice shape, I'm now going to insert the wire ring. So the good thing with fleece is because it's got a stretch in there, you'll find that you can stretch it in there quite nicely. So that's going to give your, so once I bring it in, it's sort of stuff. Hayley, I don't know whether you stock toy stuff in as well.
So it's still going on YouTube. For some reason, it seems to have dropped off Facebook. So just give me a second. I will try and get that fixed, and I'll be right back with you.
I'll just keep stuffing while you're doing that. Oh, super. So I'm going to take some stuff in then, and I'm going to stuff Santa. Now, what I'm looking to do when I stuff him is stuff right down to the point. Okay, so you're going to work your way right down to the point, but you want to stuff enough that you've given a little bit of form, but not so much that you don't want him completely domed. So once you've stuffed him, I'm going to bring another example in here. Okay, so now he's stuffed. You can see he's nice and soft, but he isn't big and fat and rounded, okay? And then if we look at the bottom part here, we can see, if I could find my needle. Got a needle in there somewhere. I've just done like a little bit of a quilting stitch along there. I don't know how well you can see that on camera. And then the reason that I'm doing that is, one, it's going to stop the stuffing from moving. Okay, and two, it's going to give me a much more stable environment to work on later. So I'm just bringing the needle and thread through to hold the layers together. So for all of you that are used to quilting, this is just like doing like a little bit of quilting. You don't have to worry about how neat this stitching is, because it literally is just to hold the layers together and keep the stuffing in place. So I work along there, and then once I've done that, I can tie my thread off. And then I come to what I think is the nice bit, and that's making the leaves. So I want to do the leaves now to cover Santa's face. And as you can see, these are made up from holly leaves in 3 different types of felt. So in your kit, you will have all of that felt. So if I just bring this in. Okay, so in your kit, you're going to have some grey felt, you're going to have some glitter felt, so you can see it's got a really lovely shimmer on there, and you're also going to have some white felt, and you've got plenty of it. I've given you a nice amount of felt. I've also given you in your pattern 2 sheets of freezer paper. So the reason I've given you that is because I want it to be easy for you to make the leaves. So some of you will have seen me do this before, so I'm just going to do it quickly. You're going to roughly cut out the leaves, okay, from your freezer paper. For those of you who've never used freezer paper before, it's just a paper that's got wax on one side. And what it does is it gives you a temporary adhesion to the felt. So I'm going to pop the paper onto my felt. I'm going to take an iron, and then, you know, like when you do use fusibles and whatever, I'm just going to iron. What you need to remember, this is acrylic felt, so you don't want a really hot iron, and you don't want to hang around with the iron on the felt, because the felt will go all thick and fluffy. So try to mainly keep on the piece of paper. Okay, give it a little rub like that. That's all you need, and you'll be able to see that the felt is stuck to the paper is stuck to the felt nicely. And then what that does is it gives me a lovely surface then to be able to cut out. So I'm going to quickly cut out the holly leaf. I find this quite therapeutic. I just sit on an evening cutting out all my leaves. And if you, as you're cutting, if the leaf starts to come away from the felt, okay, you could use a slightly smaller piece of felt than me. I often make the pieces of felt a bit smaller. Let me cut off the excess a minute. If the paper starts to lift away from the felt, like so, you just bring the iron in and just touch it again, and it will be it'll stick back down. So we'll carry on cutting out the leaf. You'll take a little bit longer and put a little bit more effort in than I'm doing, but I just want to get this done so you can see what I'm doing. The beauty of the freezer paper is now it becomes available to use again. So I'm going to pull the paper off the leaf. I've now got a leaf that looks like it's been die cut. It's so neat. I can now take my leaf, pop it back on my felt. I can iron it on there again, and then I can use that leaf again to cut out my felt all over again. So it saves you repeatedly cutting out pieces. And like I said, if it starts to come away from your felt, then don't worry, just bring your iron back in and give it another little iron. And then the next time, because your leaves are already cut out, you can then cozy the leaves up quite close to one another, so you don't waste a lot of felt. So once I've done that, to give the leaves the really nice texture, I'm just looking to see what I've done with all my leaves, because I've got lots of them that I've put somewhere. I've got a whole pile of leaves that I've now lost. Anyway, if we look at the ones from the sample then close, can you see that the leaves are nice and shiny, and then they've got a lovely thread? What I've done is I've used a thicker thread than normal. I know you stock a lot of threads, don't you, Hayley? This is like a decorative thread, so it's partly metallic and partly rayon, and that because it's a thicker thread, you need to use a thicker needle. So I use a size 100 needle in my machine for a thicker thread. Something else as well to consider, if you're using decorative threads, okay, in your machine, then try to use a top stitch needle. the needle's got a larger eye in there, and it allows the thread to move around a little easier. If you've ever used metallic thread and you found that it's shredded, and some people say that they have like a real hard time with metallic threads, it's more to do with the needle. So you can buy metallic needles, but I tend to just buy top stitch needles, because top stitch needle will stitch everything. Sometimes I leave top
I've got
stitch
another
needles.
top tip for you, Gail, for stitching with that metallic thread. If you can't get it to go through your machine nicely, if you put it in the bottom bobbin, and do it kind of almost back to front, then it's not having to go through as many bits of tension and things, so it often works a little bit better.
Yeah, you can put a really thick thread in the bobbin as well. Have you ever done? I'm going to go off the beaten track here a bit, but you can do fake sashiko by doing that, where you can actually put embroidery thread in your bobbin.
Yeah, you can. We've got some embroidery threads. We actually put them on because Rondine had all of their beautiful kits on. But yes, we do have a super shiny silver one, which I'll dig out and I'll show you after this.
Yeah. So while we're chatting on that, then I'm going to take my holly leaves. I'm going to pop them under the machine, and then I'm just going to sew right to the very end, to the tip, and then I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to turn the leaf, and then I'm going to go back down the center. So I'm stitching back over there. And if you've got like a really thick thread, then it's really going to show up nicely. But I'm just sewing with a normal thread in the machine at the moment to show that it'll work nicely with a normal thread as well. So there's nothing clever about this. You're just sewing over the line. And also, you don't have to mark the lines. I find that if I did mark these lines and then I try to follow them, it's a lot harder than just doing it freehand. And at the end of the day, it's just a leaf. So none of those are perfect. Then you're just going to work your way down. You can also, if you've got a reverse on your machine, it's another thing that I do, is sometimes I just reverse out and then just go back over there, and then that speeds it up. Also, if you're used to doing free motion as well, you could free motion the leaves. As from the autumn gnome that I did, and they hand stitched them. You can draw this on if you want. You know, it's entirely up to you. You can just be as creative as you want to be, really. Yeah, so I'm just whizzing along this a little minute. You'll take your time and do it a little bit neater than I'm doing. So once I've cut out all my leaves, I just make myself a cup of coffee and have a little sit at the sewing machine, and then quite merrily then just sew all the leaves. And as if by magic, you see, they are done quite quickly. I wish I knew what I'd done with a whole pile of them, Hayley, that I brought with me. I've got a huge...
Oh, yeah, you're like 200, 300 miles away. I can't help you with that, I'm afraid, Gail.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm going to just go back to, I think, back to that one. Right, and so then I'm back there. So once I've done all those leaves then, which is really nice, I'm going to apply all the leaves to my Santa. So you can have a nice time then sitting. Well, you could, if I could find all my leaves. Oh yeah, here we go. I can have just enjoy yourself then. I think this is the fun part, where you're going to get all your leaves out, okay, and then you're just going to start to stitch them on. And you just a couple of little stitches with hand stitching. That's all you need to do. You start to build up all the leaves along him like so.
How much time
have I got, Hayley?
Stitch them if you wanted to.
Sorry?
Could you machine stitch them, like get a row and stitch a row on at a time?
Well, you could, but then you'd have to be mindful that as you work your way up, there's a metal ring in there, so you might hit the ring.
Right.
So that probably not not great.
Better to hand stitch.
Yeah, and then don't agonize over attaching the leaves, because the beauty is if you've got any empty spaces, you can just go back in and tuck another leaf in there. So although in the pattern, I tell you exactly how many leaves I've done and exactly how many of each colour, and I show it to you in stages of how I built up there, you really don't need to follow that exactly. You know, I always say each one will be completely different. Then in the pattern, I give you instructions on how to make his little nose. It's just, I call this like a shower cap, you know, but you just cut an oval, you do a running stitch all the way around there, and then you just draw up the running stitch, and then you stuff it. So that will give your little nose, and then your moustache, which I think is what like sort of makes him lovely. Again, similar technique to when I was doing the hat. You're going to take 2 layers of fleece. This time you're going to put it right sides out, okay? So it's wrong sides together. Pin your pattern in place. Stitch around, then you go out. This time you're going to cut it close to the seam allowance. Then you're going to pull the 2 layers apart, because we're not going to turn this through because it would be too challenging to turn through. Going to make an incision through the 1 layer, and then I'm going to stuff it. So here's one that I've stuffed, and that I've just closed up the opening. So then as I get towards the top, then I'm going to start to think about the arrangement of the leaves. So then I might get some of the leaves facing outwards, ready for where his nose is going into place. And then when I stitch his moustache on, I just stitch along the top edge so it leaves the moustache free, and then his little nose like that. You can always go in then with more leaves, and that puts some extra little ones in next to his moustache. In your kit as well, you can see there's a running theme here where I've pinned the pattern, this time to a layer of fur. So you've got some fur in your kit and some fleece. Sew all the way around. Again, make an incision opening. You can see here, there's the little incision, and then I've turned it through. Something to think about when you've got fur, what happens when you sew 2 layers together, you end up with a pile of the fur in the seam. So then what I quite often do is, if I've got a little comb or a pin or something, I'll just go in there and rough up that edge of the fur just to get the pile out of the seam. And that, so then you've got his lovely hat decoration. So you can add his hat on there, and you can see he's come into life then. And again, in your kit, and with the patterns again, I've used the freezer paper to cut the leaves. This time glitter felt leaves. So you're going to be working on the back of the glitter felt because the other side is super shiny. And then you're going to cut out 3 leaves. Going to do the same thing, take them to the sewing machine, stitch through them to give them some veins. And then I actually sew these to the hat brim before I attach it. In your kit, you've got little pom-poms, so you can add the pom-poms to his hat. And then when I sew the hat on, I only stitch the top edge and then just coat it on his nose, because I like to leave a little bit of space underneath, because if you've got any little gaps, then you can just tuck an extra leaf in to fill that space. So that's really like how simple he is. And I think once you've made one, you're going to want to make loads more. So like I said earlier, you've got all the fleece, haven't you, Hayley, on your website?
We've got a good chunk of it. We haven't got the fur, because we did have somebody emailing or messaging on YouTube asking about fur. We don't currently sell it. We've only got grey available at the minute in the fur. And also I've got another lady, Sandra, who's asked on YouTube, can you glue it if you don't want to sew?
Yes, you can. You can. You'd want to sew the background together to give you a firm base, but there's nothing to stop you gluing all the leaves on. What I would suggest you do is you use a hot glue gun, because then you get an instant grab with it. What you will find with fleece and that is if you just use a really wet glue, it's not sticky enough, tacky enough to hold it, or you might want a pin to hold it in place. But yeah, I'm no stranger to a bit of glue. I if in doubt, just chuck a bit of glue on there. Is fine.
By any means necessary, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. My only concern with glue is sometimes over a period of time when it's stored and that, you sometimes it can come apart, But I have got on my website, so for things like the gnome and that, I do sell small pieces of fur, so additional fur to make their beards. And some of the other little creations I've got, there's a little link on my website for fur to make
over to your website now so people can have a quick look, because there's another lady saying she can't find the gnome. So if I take you over to Gail's website, obviously a lot of our stuff is on that first page. You can go through to the shop section, or if there's something in particular that you're looking for, say it's the Santa that we've just shown today, if you type in the search, it will come up. It's a pretty good kind of loose search, so you'll be able to type in a pretty rough search and you'll still be able to find it, because there's the one. There you go, there's today's little chap just there. Let me just come back to you, Gail. There you go.
Yeah, so there's the one with the little Christmas tree, the snow gnome. There's the one with the rainbow gnome with all his little coloured hat pieces. I'll do a little demo on him later. There's the light up one that's got all the Christmas lights on and the little gift. And then finally there's the frozen gnome that's got the little penguin. And if you like super soft fabrics, that's why I put the snowmen on, snowballs. These are one of my favorites. So it's just snowballs stacked on top of one another with all different little faces. The pattern gives you the instructions to make both of them. So both kinds of hats and all the explanations to all their faces and that. But the kit gives you either the one to make the blue one or the one with the black hat and the tartan scarf, and all the instructions are in there for their little ear muffs and how to do all the faces and all the really important bits, which is all the embellishments for the eyes, the nose, and the little snowflakes and everything. But that's quite a nice little kit. And also break it down. You can just make the heads and then make them into like little hanging decorations for the tree.
Excellent. We seem to have lost a Sasha. I was going to put us all back together, but I don't know where she's gone. Well,
so I'll just move across so you've got me as opposed to a snowman.
Right, just bear with me 1 second. I shall put something in the Sasha gap, and then we will be on our way. There we go. We'll just pop that there. You'd never know.
No.
You'd never know.
Seamless it is. Seamless.
It is. Well, it isn't, but we're gonna get there eventually. We're gonna get there eventually.
I think Hayley, I don't know, a lot of people might not be aware of how difficult this is to pull this together with all the tech and us all being so far away. But I think it's really lovely. I know it's a little bit tricky because it's a little bit glitchy at the minute, but it's really nice to have one destination. I used to like Create and Craft because it was like a one-stop shop. If you wanted to watch sewing, you put it on in the morning and you knew you had 4 or 5 hours of sewing. So this is going to be like perfect like that, because people can just go to one area. I mean, they can look me up on my Facebook page, and you can look up Rowan Dean and Sasha and you, but it's all disjointed because we're all separate. So I think this is a really important location where people can just log on and know that for 3-4 hours they've just constantly got a diverse range of sewing. But it is tricky and we are getting there slowly.
I'm not going to lie, it's challenging.
Yes, yeah, it is. It must be like herding.
You want to see the state? I'm going to take some pictures afterwards so people can maybe see what happens from this end. There's
behind the scenes.
So many computers.
Yeah.
Answer messages on phones as well. I've got the lovely Sarah from White Gecko helping today. She's helping with some of the messages on Facebook because it is tough to keep on top of all of them.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, I don't know where Sasha's gone. She's just vanished.
Oh.
I'm sure she'll come back because she's got, that's kind of inconvenient because she's supposed to be next, I think.
Yeah, she's run off with all the fabric.
Is Katrina, you've got some, I know you've got some bits and pieces, some kind of accessories to go with your lovely kits. And we said that we would bring some of our threads along as well. I was going to find the one for you, wasn't I? Oh. That's the one. I've got them all down here. That's the one. It's a super shiny silver one, but it's like a chain construction.
Yeah.
So instead of, when you're sewing with them, and they kind of, you know how they kind of start to fall apart a little bit because they're separate threads. This one's actually, I'll just see if I can put it a bit closer for you, like a chain construction, which makes it super sturdy to sew with, and there's loads on those as well. So they're on the Craft Yourself Silly site. They're also, I think there might be 3 for 2 on them, or there's a 3 for 2 on the fabrics, because I rang Gail beforehand and said, what do you need me to put on? And this little guy's been done in one of the curly greys, which is just a nice alternative for the background for the beard. So you couldn't see, so that'll help him out. Help him out. But we've got 3 for 2 on all the fleeces as well. So if you do want extra to do any of Gail's kits, then fill your boots. Now I do have a couple of bits of admin. One of that, let me just switch this out. There you go. This and this are kind of journal and pen. This is on our Craft Yourself Silly website, and this is kind of sneaky because anybody who orders these, one person, we don't know who yet, because I've just put it in one of the journals and I haven't said anything, but one of these journals has £100 voucher in for Craft Yourself Silly. So this is, it's a dateless journal, so it doesn't matter when you start it, when you finish it. It's just got Monday to Friday in there. It's got little jokes, it's got Stitch of the Weeks in there, it's got little projects all on QR codes on the bottom. And then on the other side, oh, Sasha's back! On the other side, then you've got kind of little project planner at the top, anything you're needing for that week. And it's also got little puzzles and things in there as well. So there are 52 full weeks in there, and you've got the pen as well. So anybody who orders that from the Craft Yourself Silly site, one of you is going to land up with a £100 voucher for Craft Yourself Silly as well. So let me just get Sasha back. Where have you been, my lovely? Where have you been? Oh, hang on, I've got no volume on you. Let me just see if I can find you. There we go. Volume on, everybody. Happy days.
I got kicked off.
You got kicked off?
I thought you booted me off already, and I was...
Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't boot you off. We thought you'd just gone for a cup of tea. Maybe a wee break. Who knows?
I broke out in a sweat. I was getting panicky. I couldn't get back on.
It's fine. You're back. You're back. So, which way around we're going to go now? Same way around again? You up for another one, Katrina?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
So we did the Foxgloves Candy Mountain last time.
Yeah, well, this time I'm going to do Cosmos and Foxgloves and a brand new, larger design, which is called Summer Meadow.
Oh, lovely! Yes, I've got.
So we've got a couple of things I want to show everybody.
So these are the slightly bigger kits, aren't they? And these ones are $25.95 each.
That's right. So
perfect. I shall switch it to you.
Okay. Well, these ones are really lovely. They're the same stitches as we did earlier. They are worked on the tweed again.
Sasha and Gail, you're muted. Don't go anywhere. And
then we're really, the use of organza is really very easy. Some people ask, why do I want to put things on organza? It's just like adding watercolor to the design. So it's a nice way of working. So this is the Foxglove one, and then buried under here we've got the other one, and this is the Summer Meadow. So they're all really lovely size of piece. If you're going to once you've stitched this, you could actually frame it, you could put it on a cushion. There are lots of things you can do with this one, but it's a much bigger project. But having said that, it's not any more difficult than the earlier minis at all. It's really easy to do. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Before I do that, we've got this essential hoop kit that I think is really good. We used the 5-inch spring hoop earlier. This is a 7-inch, and then you've got a great pair of sharp scissors in with this, and that's on the website. It's got quite a big discount there, but once you've got these, they are really the only things that you need to start your stitching and get good results with it. So the frames are really, really good. And then before we go on, in case I don't have time to show you this,
So is that
these are
toolkit
display hoops.
1789.
But on the side, they're 15.90.
The 15.90s on the side. We've discounted them on the side.
Right. So my price is wrong. There's a discount on it. Even
So
better.
discount that on. So they're good. I mean, they're just great. I can't recommend them enough. They're really, really good. And then the other way is, if you want to frame your piece of work, we've got display hoops. So these aren't ones to stitch your design. These are ones where when you've completed your design, they just press together the wood, and that gives you your display hoop. And then you can lace the back to keep all the fabrics in place. But it's just a very, very quick way of framing your piece, so that you can either get those in a 5-inch size, 7-inch size, all kinds of combinations. But they're very, very useful, especially if you're giving that your final stitching as a gift. So they're really, really good to use. So let's go back to the two designs. So these are in the 7-inch range, and I'm using the 7-inch hoop, so it works exactly the same. You put the plastic part of the hoop onto the table, and then just hold the spring, and that's going to clip into place. Really, really good. If the tension does change, all that you do is just alter the fabric and just pull it slightly at the edge, and that'll bring it back into the tension. So this one again here, you can see the print, and it's really important, I think, that there is a little bit of a starting point on your fabric. You'll get really better results just if you've got a little bit of a print. Then you can go off and do your own thing on there. So I've got the threads. The threads are just super duper threads. If you look at the threads, loads and loads of colour there. Again, I just love knitting yarns in the design. Variegated threads, and this time there's quite a few sparkly ones, some gold, silver, and a little bit of mohair knitting yarn there. So a nice combination of colours. And to start with, I'm going to show you stem stitch. So stem stitch is just an easy way of creating a line that curves. So it could be a plant, it could be a lettering, it can be all kinds of things. So I'm just going to show you on this little bit of a stem here how to do that. So I'm just going to turn my work around. I'm going to show you in this green. So to start with, I'm just going to bring the thread up from the back of the fabric, and then I'm just going to start and do a small stitch and bring the needle out onto the surface. And each time I'm going to place the thread in the same direction. And so as you start to stitch, you find that you've got a line, but it's the line really that you'll be able to change the shape and give it a smooth curve. So really, the smaller the stitch, the better. And that means you can get a tight curve or a tight shape. But when you're doing a stem, you're just going to really go with the thread. Not too big stitches will make it jaggy. So you get a nice raised line, but on the back it looks like a back stitch, which is not as nice as that solid shape. So that's the first thing you would do on this design. I'm just going to take the thread through to the back there, and to just fasten off, you're just going to loop that round a couple of times. And then with my scissor, which I just buried my scissors, just a moment. Might have to get my assistant down. I found them. Buried. Okay, so once you've got your stems on, the next thing is to actually do a little bit of straight stitching. And it's so easy. On the print, you found that you've got lines to follow. It's, again, so easy to do. You're just going to take the thread. And that's what sometimes I think people worry about, is how do I know how big to make the stitches? Well, to start with, you've got an idea on the print, and then you can actually just keep going and enjoy the rhythm of the thread, and it'll fill that little area. And basically I'm creating part of a meadow. And there's something quite really, it's really relaxing, is to fill that in and sort of think a little bit messy. Doesn't matter if the stitches are perfect. And then you're just going to fill that whole thing in your design with the straight stitches. And this particular design we're going to stitch later on, after you've worked all the threads over the surface. So I'm just going to take a little bit like that, and then take the threads through to the back. Now once you've got your threads, and you've got quite a few, then you can start taking the threads and working over the design. So this time I'm going to use the variegated threads, and this is where the magic happens, in that you're just going to go over the top and you're going to create grasses and colour and really make the stitches quite higgledy-piggledy and gradually build up the foreground in this design. So you can do lots with straight stitch. It's quite a useful thing, and as the colour changes, that creates all that magic. It's really nice to do. So that's the first stitch. The second stitch that we did earlier is the French knot. I'm just going to show you that a little bit over the surface. So I'm just going to take a little tiny piece. So they're on the card, easy. It's good way of organising all your threads, even if they don't stay very tidy after you've started to stitch. That doesn't really matter, but when they're made, that's a nice way of seeing the balance of colours, especially if you're introducing some of your own threads into your design. It's quite nice to see the balance of the colours there. So I'm just going to take my thread. And again, I'm using a chenille needle. So sometimes when you're threading the needle, if you wrap the thread around the needle and just put the folded thread edge through, that's easier to thread rather than struggling trying to put the frayed end through. So again, this is something that you're just going to ignore all the straight stitches, and you're just going to stitch the pink campion over the top. Ignore your stitching, and then again you're going to stitch over the top to create the flowers. And they're quite relaxing. That's the same stitch as we did earlier, and just add a little bit of texture and a little bit of colour. So I think really what we're doing is painting with the thread, which is really, really lovely to do.
I've got a question, Katrina. Somebody's asked, you mentioned about lacing the back.
Yes.
Can you give me, or can you give them a bit more information about what you mean by that?
Yeah, of course. Once you've got your work in the hoop and it's pressed together and you pull it fairly tight, you can lace your design. Let's just thread up with a different colour. You can lace the back, and you can cut the excess off your design just a little bit. Take a little bit, cut the corners off, and then you're just going to take, and it doesn't matter what colour, it's not going to be seen through your fabric. And then you're going to take a little bit. So you're just going to start at one side, and then you're just going to take the thread and you're going to lace that all the way across the back. And as you pull the threads, you can get all the way around, and eventually you're going to lace all the way around. And you can really pull that tight. Nothing else is going to be seen, and you're going to get some other colours there. And take that thread, and eventually you'll go all the way across, and all the excess fabric will be held in place. And then, so that you're not going to see that at the end of the process, just cut any fabric. I've used a little bit of felt there just to lace it, go over the top, and then I've used the excess bead thread just to do a small stitch all the way around, and that's just going to hold that, and then you're not going to see any background. And so if you're hanging up against light, you're not going to see through the design. And that works for the same way as I think I've been tidy, and all of them have got a back on at the moment. But you know, you can actually just use any fabric. I've used a white felt, but you could use any fabric at all, any felt that you've got left over, just to do those.
I'm quickly going to just pop your website up, Katrina, just so people can see where the kits are, because I've got a couple of people asking where they can get things. So if you have a look on the Rowan Dean website, which should be up there now, I think Ted and Katrina have very handily put everything that we featured today just on that homepage, so you can see them straight away. So there's your basics embroidery kit that we started with, the Candy Mountain and the Larkspur rockets that were the first demonstration, and I'm guessing it's summer cow parsley and cosmos and snapdragons. Perfect. These are all the ones that Katrina's been demonstrating right now, so they're exactly where you'll find them. Just remember, with the Secret Sewing Club, you are dealing with the companies direct. There's nobody taking commissions off things. You're dealing with those guys directly. So hopefully you can find them. I also have a message from Jacqueline Goffin. My first kits were the farmland scenes and poppies. Beautiful kits with lovely quality contents.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. There's your kits.
I know, but it's, you know, and sometimes when you meet people and they bring their designs or show you the designs, it's lovely that they really enjoyed stitching and got a lot out of it, and then just they become sort of family heirlooms, you know, and people are really proud of them, and so they should be, you know.
You'll have to read the messages afterwards, because there's lots of lovely messages there for you.
That's great. I'm going to carry on with a little bit on this one. So this is Cosmos and Snapdragon. So again here, this time we've used the organza that is in the background of the design, and you place all the organzas over the top, and then you add your stitching. So really you can do this design either covering all the organza, but I like to actually show a little bit of the design, so you're not stitching all over the surface of the fabric. You are leaving a little bit showing, so that I think that's quite a nice idea to do that. So basically in the instructions, you get full step-by-step instructions in a kit, and it will take you through each area. Sometimes if it's a landscape like this one, I'll probably do the flowers first, and then the cosmos, and then start on different areas. So it's very easy if you want to pick it up and do one little section, you know, on one evening, and then move to a different section. You can pick up where you left off. It's easy to follow the instructions that show you, you know, the basic stitches. I don't really have many stitches in the design. I think it's the colours that do the work, and the threads. It's those that are the paints, and I think you don't need 27 stitches in the design. So I've got just a few in here. I've got some Lazy Daisy. Again, we'll do Lazy Daisy again, and then some straight stitch. Now, because it's a variegated threads, they just come out. They can't help but come out very beautifully, just like the flower itself. So don't worry about how to get it absolutely perfect. Just enjoy using the threads and let the colours. They're at the moment, I think the threads are very well dyed. The spaces in between the different colours is quite short, so you get that variation very quickly. And I think that you know, years ago, there was a big gap between the colours. So now they're much more instant. And you can get some really, really super effects on the cosmos there with those threads. really, really great to use. So again, straight stitches is the background, really. You're filling in with the cosmos, but just a little bit of detail. Snapdragons, I grew them in the garden this year, and they were just absolutely flowered their socks off. So it's just a great flower that you can interpret in thread. So this is, again, you can use the variegated threads, and we're going to blend the colours over the shapes, and again bring the needle towards yourself, and then that's just going to create that little loop there and go across. And by going over that thread, it'll just hold it in place really, really easily. And then you can go across to the next flower, and you can repeat the same thing. Gradually, you're going to fill all of these little flowers over the top and just fill those in. And I think if you wanted to, you could add beads if you wished. But really, it's a nice way of creating a flower, and the little bit of organza is still there. And you can build all the way down the flower. And then, of course, I do like bees in quite a few of the different designs. So when you get your design, you can put a whole swarm of bees on there. In the top, or just one or two. So hopefully we'll get a chance to do that.
We can definitely come back and do some bees. We should have a little bit of time left at the end. Excellent. So I'm going to jump us all back together again. And I have a question. I have a question for you all. If you weren't doing this, if you weren't doing what we're doing, which is still bonkers, what would you be doing? What proper job would you have? Let's go Katrina first.
Proper job. Oh, yeah, this is not like a job sometimes. We just love doing what we're doing. So maybe it would be probably gardening, because that's my other favourite hobby.
The Rondine garden must be legendary.
The Rondine garden, I try at the moment. It doesn't look anything at all because we've been so busy. But that's what I like to, make it a little bit better, I think.
Let's go across. Let's go, Gail. What would your proper job be? Oh, bear with. That's my fault. I've muted you. Okay, you're unmuted.
Yeah, I said I don't know, because I've had quite a varied career already. I haven't always done this. I came quite late to the party sewing. So I started off as a chef.
Oh, okay.
I was with Sarah, were talking about it. So I started off as a chef, and then I went from that to I went into engineering. Just in engineering, I used to inspect aircraft propellers.
Wow.
And then I went into fingerprints. So I used to work for the government in immigration, looking at fingerprints all the time. And then I came into sewing.
Dark horse.
So, do you know what I'd really like to do?
What's that?
Nothing is what I'd like to do. I'd like my next job to be retirement, and I'd actually like to sit and use up all that fabric that I've got that I haven't got the time to do. So my dream job would be to do nothing and just work on all the loveliness that I've got that I never find the time to do.
Your dream job is retirement.
Yeah, it is.
Sasha.
I mean, I'm a bit like Gail. I've sort of had quite varied jobs. Probably like, well, you know this, a panda nanny. I'd quite like to be a panda nanny, or an alpaca nanny. I'd quite like that. Or if I had to go serious, probably something like forensics, like murder gruesome scenes. Like somebody that goes, like when they phone up the cleaner, You want to go tidy
like
up that.
crime
Something
scenes.
that I could have a really good gossip about to me mates after.
Hey, whatever floats your boat. Katrina, did you have a proper job before this?
Sorry, love?
Katrina, did you have a proper job?
Oh, yeah, I did. Originally I was a teacher.
Oh,
I was taught textiles, and I did that for quite a few years, and then really started rounding as a hobby. And we just originally did original one-off designs, and then people said they'd like to have a go. So that's how we started. Really, we originally started with machine embroidery. So it's now turned to hand stitching, all hand stitching, which is really, really good.
Perfect. See, it's just nice to know a little bit more about everybody else.
What about you, Hayley?
I've had loads. I started out as an engineer, working on the outside broadcast bands for the BBC. Then I was a researcher and producer. So, you know, what I did 25 years ago, it's all coming back. Then I was an architectural recruitment consultant. And then I kind of gave it up and started working for myself. So, yeah, we've all had a varied employment.
And what would you do if you weren't doing this now then? What would be your dream job?
Well, I've discussed this with Debbie Shaw. I'd like to be a duck trainer. But I just don't think there's enough work
There's a
for
call
duck
to it.
trainers. I'd love to be a duck
Could be
trainer.
the next trend.
I mean, Frank's pretty good. You shout and she'll come. She's got better recall than most dogs. So I think it could be done.
Yeah.
I think it could be done. Sorry, I've got completely distracted there. Who's next? Sasha? Fancy go?
Me?
Okay then.
Yes.
Just it's a lot more flexible than the proper TV, isn't it? It's like, yeah, who fancies a go now? Let's go. Okay.
And then my mind starts wandering and thinks, is there much demand for duck training?
Well, I think it would have to be international on the basis that I don't think there's, that much domestic work for duck trainers.
Okay.
But I'd still like to
So you're thinking big?
Yeah.
You're thinking big?
Yeah, international
Okay.
duck
I'm
trainer.
glad you've actually given this some thought.
Okay. See you in a minute. Bye.
Bye. Right. So,
Katrina and
just wanted to show you quickly.
Gail, I shall mute
So
you.
we have, I popped some of the linen in the centre of this one. So you can just see, obviously, if you were to pop a border or some sashings or things like that in there, it actually works really, really pretty. And I think if you were to do a whole quilt like this, it's actually something a bit different. And I also think as well, they could look like the little tops of presents as well. But yes, so what did I use? So if you go, obviously I'm here today for Fabric Freedom, but if you go onto Craft Yourself Silly, they have got all the charm packs that we've been using. Now this one that I've been using is the mega one. So this is 80 pieces. And in this one, let's move that down a second because you don't want to be looking at me. In this one, you are getting red and white, and they have all got gold metallic on them. So again, great for Christmas, but they don't scream Christmas. That's the thing. They haven't sort of got Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas or presents or things like that. It's just very, you could use it as a really nice winter project. So we have got the poinsettias. We have also, I love this one. I'm going to just grab this one out of here. So the white with the gold stars, look at that. It's in there. It's like a dusting. But,
Hang fire, Sasha. Your camera seems to have disappeared, so just bear with me a second.
Okay.
And we're back in the room.
And we're back again. Thank you.
No problem.
I got kicked out earlier. I'm sure it's you playing, just getting rid of me. And then we've got the white with the gold poinsettias as well. So again, really great for Christmas. But these are 80 squares. Okay, so you're getting a double pack of these. The other Christmas ones that I have got is your normal 40 squares. Okay, so you're getting 40 of your 5-inch charms, all red, white and green, and you can either go for solid swirls, and they have all got solid swirls, or you can go for dotty swirls, and again, all exactly the same. all with gold inlay on them. So again, you know, they look absolutely beautiful. Great for all those Christmas mates. I will show you, I've got a couple of marble ones here as well. Really, really different, these ones. So these are like muted marble colours. Now you'll see in here, we've got a peachy, we've got a rust, we've got a lilac. What colour is that one? I'm always flicking to the one where I haven't got any colour. So I've got a darker purple. And again, you know, some really, really beautiful colours in there. So these are marbles. Now I've got two of these, two different sorts. So that's that one. And then we've got my absolute favourite, which is all your turquoises and greens. Again, really, really beautiful. Now they're all marbled. This one I've made an absolutely exquisite quilt out of. They're just beautiful. And obviously I will speak to the powers that be at Fabric Freedom, and we'll try and get the fabrics on as well, because I know that you're all missing our blenders so much. Let me just, I can't get to that one. And then that one's also got that beautiful blue in there as well. So again, we've got these amazing, amazing marbles. So we've got two different ones of those. I have got the marble as blenders that we used to obviously bring you before. I've got as well in a 5-inch squares, and this has got loads of different colours in there. So if you have bought the packs of blenders before, the marble blenders, then this will match perfectly with them. You've got yellow, purple, we have got orange, turquoise, grey, like a beigey gold, pink, green, a magenta pink, and a blue. So again, it's another really, really good one if you haven't done any sewing before and you want to have a go with 5-inch squares. It's just easy. You know, maybe you can't cut properly, maybe you have problems with dexterity, or you know, maybe you just don't like cutting. You know, pre-cuts are great for that. I love a pre-cut because I especially love charm packs. I love 5-inch squares because you're getting a little bit of all different fabrics.
Sasha,
obviously we've
just
got
quickly, I'm just going to show where the website is, because obviously they're Fabric Freedom, but they're currently over on the Craft Yourself Silly website, because Fabric Freedom doesn't sell directly to the customer, they only sell to trade. So we've had to do a little bit of jiggery pokery this time. In future they will be available through yourself, but this time I know you've got a whiz-bang new website. So yeah, they're over on Craft Yourself Silly. You can find them on the Secret Sewing Club, and then just head into the 17th of November and you'll find everything there. Let me just switch you back. That's not the right button. And that is the right button. Now, I don't think they could hear you when you were saying you have a snazzy new website. So you can tell everybody about that too.
So, Nabby's snazzy new website, which I've sort of had various meltdowns with, and Hayley's just been amazing. Yeah, it's good. So hopefully next time I will speak to Fabric Freedom and we'll get everything on there, which will make things a little bit more consistent and easier. But yeah, it's proper big girl pant time, isn't it? It's proper. This is proper adulting. So the next thing that I'm going to show you is, I've showed you very quickly the 3D pinwheel. Well, what if you don't want to do a 3D pinwheel? Okay, you don't have to do a 3D pinwheel, but I'm going to show you really, really quickly how to do a normal pinwheel. So what you're going to do is you are going to take two of your 5-inch squares, one on top of the other, and you take your marker and you're going to make some half square triangles. Now, we all know how to do these. If you don't, really, really simple. You're going to do a diagonal line through the centre, and you're going to mark 1/4 of an inch each side. And then you're going to stitch on those 1/4 of an inch lines that you've actually done. If I just show you that there, hopefully you'll be able to see that. I'm not sure if you can, but you should be able to. And I'm just going to stitch really, really quickly. So this is another thing that I absolutely love. I love half square triangles. I love quarter square triangles. Because it's one of those things that you can just play. You can just do a load of them up and then just play whatever design you want to do. So now that center line that you've got, you're just going to cut that. You're going to cut straight down the center, and that's going to give you 2 half square triangles. Now, if you wanted to do just a normal quick and easy pinwheel, now this is just a cheats variation of a pinwheel. It isn't anything, you know, it's just really, really quick and easy. And then you just lay them out like so. And again, it's, you know, maybe you've done loads and loads of just squares, and now you want to go on to something else. Quarter square triangles is a great one to start off with. And so you lay that out like that, and that is basically a cheats pinwheel. So you can either do your 3D like so, or you can do a really simple cheats pinwheel. And there's nothing stopping you doing normal squares next to it. So maybe every other block you're going to do as a pinwheel, and the other you're going to do as normal squares. Now you will stitch this together. You are going to go into pairs. So you're going to stitch those 2 first, then you're going to stitch those 2 first, and then you're going to stitch along that middle seam. And again, it just makes for a really, really nice, different block. Looks really effective, but actually it's quick and easy. I think we all love quick and easy.
Can I ask a question, Sasha? If somebody wanted to add the charm squares in, so they wanted to add extra of the charm squares in with those half square triangles, what do they need to do to make that happen? Because obviously you've added a seam into those, so that's going to change the sizes.
Yeah, so you just need, what I would always do, we all know what it should be. Okay, so when you've added that join, these were 5 inches to begin with. Now, I'm going to show you really quickly. So you are looking here, you're going to lose ½ an inch. So then what? Sorry, right, let's put it here so you can see. So as you can see here, because you have got 2 seams, each seam is 1/4 inch, so it's ½ an inch. So you are going to want to cut your squares down to 4½ inches. So thank you for that, Hayley. And so by cutting them down at 4½ inches, it means then that you can put them together. You can play around, all different things. You can put your sashings on. You can put your loads and loads of different things. Loads of things that you can actually be doing. But again, I personally like the 3D one. I do like the 3D one. I like the fact that it has little pockets and I can put Smarties and things in them if I wanted to. But yes, so you're going to join all of those together. But that's for making things really, really quick and easy. What Shirley said, oh, she likes them very much. Alexander, oh, I like them too. But again, check out the charm packs, because that's what I was going to say. You know, don't be scared of pre-cuts. Don't be scared. You know, I love 2½ inch strips. I love 5 inch pre-cut. I do like playing around. You're not cheating in any way whatsoever because it's been pre-cut. There are, you know, you can actually push yourself a little bit more, I think, with pre-cuts. And maybe if you Google online and put in charm pack or charm square patterns, so many different things come up. But it does make for a really, really quick and easy. Well, now, if I put this back, if you were, when you have stitched all of this together, I mean, you know, there are so many. You can really, you know, you can really, really play. And this is what I want people to do. And if you wanted to do that plain square in between, all you are going to do is put this together, measure it as a square, trim it down to what you want to trim it down to, and then cut that fabric at that side. So if this was coming out, say, at 9¼ inches, for example, then cut the next piece of fabric at 9¼ inches. You know, you can just really, really play around. And again, you know, maybe you want to do cheap flying geese. Hang on. There we go. So maybe you want to do cheap flying geese. So again, you know, yes, you've got a seam down the centre, but it's really easy and it's something different again. I quite like that one. Quite like that one. There must be a name for that one, for bigger flying geese with a bigger wing. But again, you know, you can really play around with them and just give them a go. Just give them a go. So you're going to get your squares. You're going to do a central line through the diagonal and then 1/4 inch each side, sew on those, and then cut it down through the middle. Really, really easy. And that's me.
Excellent. We've got everybody back. So let me just do a little switch. Oh, Katrina's still stitching. That's fine. That's no problem. You crack on. You crack on. Gail. Oh, hang on. I've got to put your mics back on. There we go. Done. Got everybody back now. Gail, you said you had another demo for us.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of things I want to share with you.
Excellent.
So first of all, it's not something that I do a lot of, but people will know that I do it sometimes. And I thought it was tied in quite nicely with Rowan Dean. So I brought a little bit of red work. So normally I only ever did patterns, but Hayley, we've got you to thank for this because you printed these panels for me. So it's a bit unusual, but so this is only for a little while. So once these are gone, they're gone, and I'm bringing out new red works. So these will be retired. So that was one of the reasons that I brought them on. So I've got the little robin wall hanging. So not only do you get the red work panel, so the panel is pre-printed and in the pack, and you also get the embroidery thread and the little eyes. I'll show you a bit of a close-up in a second. You get the instructions to make the wall hanging, and then there's another one that's got the little robin just sitting on its own with Merry Christmas above it, and you get all the instructions to make the cushion as well as the panel. So I'm just going to put you on the overhead a second, but I feel like a camera person that I can do this now.
You want to try this then, Gail?
So yeah, I've only got 4 buttons, and that's enough for me. So so you can see it's got a pre-printed panel. I know sometimes when I've had patterns in the past, I've not wanted to trace off the design. So the beauty of this is the design is already traced on there for you, so you can't go wrong. This does not wash off, so the line is really fine. It'll be covered quite easily with 2 strands of embroidery thread, which you'll get in your kit. You'll get a whole skein of thread, which will be more than enough to cover it. And you can see, because it was traditional red work, it's done in red. But then I know, Hayley, you've got lots of lovely threads as well, and probably when everybody's got their Rowan Dean kits, they've probably got loads of thread left over from doing the kits as well, because I know their kits are really generous. So you could, there's no reason not to do it in lots of other colours, and also bring in lots of other stitches. So red work is predominantly just a back stitch, and you just literally follow it. But you can see with this one, there's a satin stitch in there, and there's like a rice stitch and that. So you can have real fun. There's a few French knots in there, mixing up the colours and using up all of your threads. And the good thing with these patterns and kits, if I just show you the other one as well, I've got another example of it done in different colours. It's because you get the pattern as well. So I'll just bring in, you get the paper pattern as well. You can break it down into small areas. So you can, once you've used your pre-printed panel, there's nothing to stop you going back in and then tracing off elements and just using small pieces of it. So especially the sort of the one with Merry Christmas on there, you've got the pattern, so you can trace off Merry Christmas, and you could use that word in then to decorate other things. You can see I've got one here where I started to trace it off, and I've just used the single robin, and I think he would stitch out, and he'd be really good for like Christmas cards, so you can make like little cushions. So rather than just give you the panel, you've got the whole pattern as well, with all the instructions on how to make the wall hanging or the cushion. And then because you've got the pre-printed panel and the paper copy, it then enables you to just keep on using it over and over again. So so it's quite like a versatile kit. And I was going to say something else then that went into my mind and then quickly shot back out as quick as it came in. So I'm not sure where I was going with that. Oh yeah, just finally, just a couple of little tips. When I stitch out my, when I get my pre-printed panel, before I start to stitch on there, I put some iron-on violin on the back, and you can see the violins on the back of this. And the reason that I do that is sometimes I want to travel across with my stitching, and because it's done on white, sometimes when you do a little bit of traveling across the back, the stitching will show up. Whereas if you've used a little bit of iron-on violin, it will hide the fact that the stitches are the stitches are traveling. If it was a heavier weight fabric, and that it wouldn't be such an issue. But yeah, so a little bit of iron-on violin gives you a nice surface to work on and saves you hooping it up, so you don't have to hoop it if you don't like working in a hoop. Some people prefer to do a back stitch just in their hand. Makes the fabric a little bit more stable and helps with the traveling of the stitching as well. So that was just all I wanted to share with you. And then something else to remind you as well, that the reductions on all of the stuff on the website is only until Monday evening.
Do you want me to pop your website up again, Gail?
Sorry.
Do you want me to pop your website up again?
Pop my website up?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you like, thank you. Yeah, so it's a reduction, but a temporary reduction. So I didn't want people to think I don't want people to miss out. And also I brought patterns along. The reasons I brought some patterns was I've got lots of customers now that I'm sure are the same for you, Hayley. Everybody likes to buy digital downloads because it's instant. Well, a lot of the stockings and the other patterns that I brought this time, they're not digital downloads because they've got A3 pages in them because they're quite big patterns. So the reason I brought these patterns was because this one, especially for Santa, he's got 4 A3 pages in there. So it's not a digital download. So I think it's about 40% off some of the patterns. So that's the reason that I bought them, because you can't digitally download the larger pattern. Yeah. So I thought I'd do a little demo on the gnome that's quite good fun to make. So its body in that is quite easy. The pattern, all the instructions are quite detailed, so you haven't got to worry, but I'm just going to highlight a few little bits of making him. You cut your pattern pieces out, so you've got the green top and the red bottom. It would be challenging because fleece has got a stretch in there. It would be challenging to sew a curve on two pieces of stretchy fabric. So I've made it easy for you. In the pattern, it shows how you overlap the two layers. So then you overlap the two layers, take it to the sewing machine, and then stitch along the edge here. So if I just bring this one in, you can see I've zigzagged along the edge and then just put a little row stitch in. Then I turn it over and then just cut the excess off. Then that way I've got a nice curved piece joined without actually having to sew a curve. Because I don't know about you, Hayley, but none of us are really that keen on sewing curves, are we? I mean, we can do it, but it's no fun.
But if we can get away with it, then we will.
Exactly. So you'll find a lot of my patterns, for those of you who are not used to me, that it's worth reading through the pattern, because I use a few unfamiliar techniques. And the reason I do that is because I want to make it accessible to everybody and easy for you to make. So once you've trimmed away the excess, you match the raw edges together. And then we're going to sew along here, leaving a gap in the green. The reason I leave the gap in the green is when I come to turn it through, all this is going to be covered with all the leaves of the tree, whereas the bottom part isn't. So then it means that if you've got any unsightly stitches, they're going to be hidden underneath some other sewing. So I'm going to sew that along, then I'm going to put the base in, pin the base in nicely, and then stitch the whole thing together. So you can see my base is in, and I've stitched around there. My opening is in the side here, and then I can turn it through. Now, to make your norms sit up nicely, and that I also give you a little bit of calico in the pattern, and the calico is to add your weights. So you'll see you just use the base pattern, you cut out the circles, sew all the way around, leaving a gap, and then I fill. Now, lots of people fill this with lots of different things. I like to use fish tank gravel, because I think that it's got a good weight in there for the bulk that it takes up, and it makes my norms sit nicely so that they don't fall over. And that I use fish tank gravel in a lot of my projects. So once I've done that, I'm going to stuff it. So once I've stuffed it, I've got this lovely cone shape, and like I say, with the stuff in and that, it sits nicely. To cover the cone shape, to give myself the nice Christmas tree effect, in your pattern, you're going to have lots of little paper templates, and then I'll get you to cut strips of fleece, okay, and then with a nice sharp pair of scissors, you're just going to cut the spikes into there. As it goes up the tree, okay, they get smaller and smaller. So you can see you start off with large ones and then they work into smaller ones. You can use small strips, or you can use really, really long strips by moving the pattern along the edge of the fleece. It doesn't really matter. It's just up to you how you want to work. So you'll cut all your little strips out. So here's one that I prepared earlier. And that you can see as I'm gathering the strips now around the piece. I'm going to see if I was hoping I'd have a needle attached then, but I haven't. I'll get the needle and thread out in a second. But if we look at this little piece here, this is the top of the gnome, and you can see that I've already started to put some pieces around there, because I thought that once I'd finished making the gnome with any like leftover fleece and that, they would just make really nice Christmas trees, wouldn't they? So you don't have to make the gnome, you could just use the extra bit as a Christmas tree. Because the small one, the snowman one, I did do him with a little tiny Christmas tree. And then I thought, as I was making these, I thought I'd quite like a decoration where I could make a couple of gnomes and then I could make some extra Christmas trees to go with it. So always when you're making and using your patterns, think of other things that you can do with your samples. So before I go on and sew those on there, I just want to cover a few other little bits and pieces. His nose, just like I showed you earlier with the big gnome, you know, when we did the big gnome, it's just a shower cap. So it's just a running stitch. You pull the running stitch together and then pop your stuff in. And make sure when you push stuff in that you push in enough that you get rid of all these little creases. I don't know whether I need a closer overhead. Let me just see. Number 5. Yeah, so you can get rid of all these little things. So what I tend to do is I'll pull it quite tight and then I'll continue to poke stuff in there, and you can see how much the nose is stretched. So I've got a decent sized nose and the creases have come out. So take your time doing that. Another little thing about the fur. So, you know, we were talking about fur earlier, Hayley. So I have got some of this fur on my website if you want to make more gnomes. I sell pieces of it. So there's enough to make 2 gnomes. I always say with fur that sometimes you need to do a little bit of hairdressing. So don't be scared to get a little comb and comb the fur before you start. Comb the fur in the right direction so you know which way the pile is going. When you turn the fur over and you're going to cut out your pattern piece, people who are like making clothing and do what I call posh sewing, like tailoring and whatever, they will tell you that when you cut fur, you cut it with a blade, not with a pair of scissors. I don't advocate cutting it with a blade because I don't want my customers to hurt themselves. So what I suggest that you do is when you cut your fur, okay, if we look at the fur, you've got all this pile and then you've just got the little bit of backing that it's attached to. So rather than normally you'd go in with a pair of scissors and you'd be cutting straight through it all. I don't want to cut through it all. I just want to cut through the backing. So what I tend to do is sometimes I'll just draw the pattern onto the back of the fur and then get the pattern out of the way so I can really see where I'm going. But I'll take my scissors and then I'll work in nicely, and then I'm just putting the scissors through the back in and I'm not cutting the fur on the front, if that makes sense. So if I had a blade, I could just run the blade along there. And then what that means is when I pull the piece away, I just bring in my beard. When I pull the pattern piece away, can you see all the fur that's still left there? Whereas if I'd gone in with scissors, all that would have been cut off. So when I turn the beard around, then I've got a lovely beard with all the nice long stringy bits in there. So it's a tip for if you ever cut fur, just through the back in, not through the whole thing. Otherwise you end up with a really blunt finish, and you don't want that. You want this nice sort of natural looking beard. And the other good thing you can do with fur as well is you can like manipulate it, and you can twist it, and you can twist it to make moustaches as well. So you can put a little bit of wax or a little bit of glue on the end, or like a little bit of Pritt stick and that. And if you twist it with your fingers, you can create his beard and you can make him have a little tash. So you can personalize him a little bit. So you can just have fun with that. So we've done his beard, we've done his nose. Let's have a little look at his arms. In the pattern, I tell you to take a rectangle of fabric and then you turn it over. Okay, again, this time we're putting wrong sides together, so the right side is out. We're going to sew a little seam down the side, and then we're going to take a pair of scissors and we're going to cut away all the excess from the seam. Because these arms are quite thin, okay, we don't want to struggle to try to turn the pieces through. So I'm actually going to leave the seam on the outside. But if you look, there's the beauty of fleece. You can't see the seam or anything. And then in your kit, you've got pipe cleaners. So we're going to pop a pipe cleaner through the middle of the tube. And you can see I've twisted a little circle on the end, and that's going to be for his hand. And then in your pattern, you've got some little pattern pieces, and you're going to pin these pattern pieces to 2 layers of felt. And then you're going to sew around the pattern piece, and then you're going to cut out the little hand. You can see there's some I've got in. I've got a hand somewhere in my little box. Oh, I've lost his hand. if you're somebody that struggles with how small this is, there's nothing to stop you going around it with a blanket stitch and sewing, cutting the pieces out, sewing with a little blanket stitch. Or the other alternative is there's nothing to stop you cutting that shape out of felt. And you know, when we were talking earlier about using glue, that you can just glue the hands on. You don't have to. I just encourage people to make patterns work for them. Just because one of us does something a certain way, it doesn't mean that you have to. So you can simplify it if you want, and glue the pieces. So there's his little hand. I've now pushed his little hand after I've cut it out onto the end of the pipe cleaner, and then you pull his little sleeve up there, and then you can do a couple of little stitches, sew it on, and then you can take his little body. Here we've got it. They are quite simple and easy to make. So you can see with his beard now, I've taken his beard and I've just sewn a little row of stitching along the top just to secure it, and that, and then his nose, make sure it's nice and secure. Through his beard, so it's attached to his body nicely. Then you see, the beauty of it is that when you sew with it, the stitches disappear nicely in, and his arms are on. And then we're back to the fun bit now of attaching all the spikes for his tree top. So if I can find a needle and thread, which I've got ones somewhere. So this is white. Obviously, you'd be using green. You can do this in two ways. You can either, what I did is when I was sewing it on, I just gathered it as I went along and just did like a little gathers as I was sewing the piece on. Or you could do a running stitch right the way along the piece, and then you could gather it up as you go. It's entirely up to you. It's whatever, to be honest, is whatever works the easiest. And you'll notice that even if I use white thread on green, once I've got past the knot area, you won't notice the stitches at all. So I put the knot right up there out of the way so it can't be seen. And then I'm going to take my fleece. And I think this is the nice bit. I just get to sit now and relax nicely, just sewing his little tree bits on. And I'm just gathering it as I go. And you haven't got to worry about really neat stitching. You can just have fun sewing them all on, working your way around. So I quite enjoy this bit. I really quite like the gnomes. So in your pattern as well, you'll have all the instructions, but depending on which gnome that you've chosen, you'll have the instructions to make all these little accessories. And in your kit, you'll have all the little bits and pieces as well to finish him off. So this one is the rainbow gnome. So let me just get that out of there. I keep wandering off, don't I, from the edge. When I come to his nose, I'm going to work round his nose. Towards the center. Thank you. Sorry, not used. I should be looking at the screen, shouldn't I, to see where I am. When I come to his nose, I sort of arrange it so that the creases fall nicely over his nose, and just keep working all the way around to the top. Once you've done that, you can add in the kit. You get all these little pom-poms. Now you can. Somebody mentioned glue earlier. You can glue these on. But if we have a look, you can see I've just put like little stitches through there. I've actually sewn mine on to make sure that they stay on there nicely. You've also got instructions on how to make the little star that goes at the top, and how to make the little sack with Merry Christmas. Or you could put somebody's name on there for a little gift. And then if you have the other ones, Frozen Gnome, he's got a grey beard and he's got a little white top. All of the sequins and everything come in the kit with him, and then the instructions how to make the little penguin as well. And then with the other one, there was a Christmas tree, and with the light up one, you get the nice Christmas light embellishments in the kit and the glitter felt. and you also get the instructions on how to make the little presents. So that's him really, the gnome. And then just finally, the little Santas that I brought with me this time as well. I'll just show you the little Santas. I really quite like these. These are done in the same sort of technique. The little Santas, again, the pattern's pinned to 2 layers. This time I put felt on the back, and felt and fleece, and then you trim around them, so they're really easy to make. And I made a load of these, and then I hung them down my staircase in between a garland last year on the staircase that looked really nice. And you can sort of fashion them, whether they got their hats pointy, or you can turn the hat over to make them look like that. And again, in the kit, you've got all the little embellishments, all the little bells, all the ribbon, their little pom-poms for their nose and their eyes, and then for their face, for the blush, to give them like little rosy cheeks, I've just used a cheap little bit of blusher. You could use lipstick or whatever, because we all know what it's like trying to get makeup off clothes. It doesn't come off easy, so it's very good for decorating your Christmas ornaments as well. So,
you ready to jump back with everybody else?
Yeah, all good.
Sasha's vanished again. Where does she keep going?
Well, that's why she gets so much done. She gets so much done because she's always sewing. That's a good use of her time.
She's there. Hang on a second. She's there, but she's pinged off my thing. So just give me... Still on you for a second, Gail, while I see if I can relink Sasha. Let me just see. This one. And that one. Okay. Fingers crossed. Oh, if she's not back, I'll just replace her with the hey, boom. There we go. Back in the room. Back in the room. So there's a couple of little bits of admin I need to do. Obviously, at the minute we're on the Craft Yourself Silly Facebook and we're on the Craft Yourself Silly YouTube. That's because the Secret Sewing Club profiles have not been active long enough to allow us to go live on there. Now, one of the criteria for YouTube is that we need 500 subscribers. We have 400 and something at the minute. So if people could go and subscribe onto there, that would be brilliant. I have the website up here. So there you go. That is the one that you're looking for. And then obviously look for that video, which is the one from last week. I will download the one from this week and upload it onto there as well. But we've got 403 subscribers, so yes, we haven't got far to go, but if you guys could help us by subscribing to that, that would boost everything up, and that means we can get across onto there. Splashing. Right, Gail, a couple of things you mentioned. One was your red work, and if you wanted to do extras, you had the patterns. One of the things that's on the Craft Yourself Silly website is our cotton offcuts, and I know this one might be one for Rondine as well. If you do want to, do extra stitching and things, then that's a really good one. It's a 500-gram offcut bundle. That's just random bits. They're usually about 0.7 meters. It's the bits that we cut off that come either before it goes onto the printer or after. So there's loads in there. It's equivalent to about 2.5, maybe 3 meters, depending on the width of the fabric. So that is an excellent bundle. What other? I had to do one more thing. I had to put up the link to the YouTube so people can subscribe. That I've just sent as a message onto Facebook, and then had questions from people that I needed to go back through. Are the guests enjoying this forum? Do they like being able to demonstrate more? So, any of you, just chip in.
No, it's perfect. I think it'll take a little while for us to get used to it.
I know
and
you
for
were
us
terrified.
Yeah, exactly. And I keep expecting somebody to interrupt or tell me to move on, because when we were on TV, you had such a limited amount of time that you just you were in a hurry to do everything. and they'd cut you off halfway through. So I think the fact that we've got the freedom to do everything now is a little bit daunting as well. So I'm a bit like, I don't know how long to take. I don't know whether I'm rushing
That's
it.
fine.
So it'd be interesting to get feedback.
You go as long as you want. You tell me when you're done. We'll come back together.
Yeah, but I think it's a perfect environment, Hayley. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy. I hope the customers are.
Katrina. What am I doing? Oh, hang on. I haven't unmuted you. Oh, I always forget this. Okay, everybody's unmuted.
Right. I think it has been great. I've really enjoyed doing the demonstrations, and I know all our customers love the demonstrations, and always when you meet them, they want to do more and more demonstrations. So yeah, let's keep doing all the demonstrations.
Because you were a bit nervous about this one as well, weren't
you?
I
was so nervous, and I've done it for years everywhere else. So yeah, I was. But now that we've sort of mastered more or less,
it's just the technology. Once you master the technology,
that was what was worrying me. But actually, it's just the same. You've done a great job, Hayley. It's been really good.
Well, I've pressed some wrong buttons, but most of them have been right. Sasha, you're a pro now. This is the second time. Different hat.
Yeah, it's great that we've got that platform that we can actually demonstrate properly. We can come back, we can look at things. You know, we're sort of in charge of what we're doing, really, and I think that's a great benefit to everybody. But yeah, the demonstrations are brilliant. We can take our time, we can go back to things that maybe we couldn't do before, and yeah, it just works. It works really well.
I do try not to interrupt unless I've got questions. But
no, I don't mind you interrupting, because it can be a little bit daunting. We're so used to having that person there, like Gail was saying, you know, we're so used to having that person cutting in, interrupting, that, you know, some of us find it difficult to read the comments, to see any questions, to be doing 5 things at once. So that's why it's great for you to interrupt us, because our 10 minutes can either sometimes be 30 minutes or 5 minutes, you know, and it depends how quickly we're going or how slow we're going. You know, we need you there.
Yeah, but we'll never shut a demo down if, you know, people are enjoying it and they're asking questions. There was another question for Katrina. Oh. Yeah, Katrina.
Yes.
What was the question?
Suddenly, just completely forgot your name there. I'm so sorry. Right, hang on. I've got to dig back through and find it now. Oh no, go away. I will find it. But we did have that one's for Gail. Somebody's just been on your website looking for the downloads for your patterns. I think I did show them where they were just before. Can you just kind of verbally tell them where they are, please?
Yeah, so the stock-ins, or the Big Santa, there is no download for those because the patterns are too big. So they're the ones with A3, so they're only the paper copy. But all the other downloads, it'll be on a drop-down menu. So say it's the gnomes that they're interested in. If you go on to just put in gnomes, then all the gnomes will come up. And then there's a choice. It's like a drop-down menu where you've got kit, paper pattern, or download. With the gnomes, because there were so many different gnomes, I kept the kits in one category and the patterns in another. But all the other things, there should be a download. And Hayley, I don't know what your technology is like, but every now and again, when a customer does buy a downloaded pattern, not for everybody, but there's the odd random ones, it just disappears off into cyberspace. Yeah. So then they say, I didn't get a link, Gail. And then I say, well, it should happen automatically. So if you ever buy a download, it should be instant. As soon as you've paid, you should get an email straight away with a download.
You should. But sometimes that doesn't happen.
Every now and again, yeah. So probably like 1 out of every 50. I say, check your spam and your junk, and then sometimes it's not in there either. So then, but don't be scared. I'm not going to shout at you or anything. Just send me an email and I'll just email you a copy of the pattern.
Yeah.
The reason we don't email you patterns is because it's to avoid sending you viruses and everything else.
Yes.
So that's why it's all done automatically by this mystery technology. But if you don't get it, then just don't be scared to just say my download didn't come through, and I'll just email you a copy of it, and it'll all be fine.
Yeah.
So
same with us. And Katrina, do you do downloadable patterns as well?
No, we don't. We
Not
don't
yet.
do that.
And Sasha, are yours on the way, pending?
I have trouble getting on here, let alone sorting out a download. I mean, I've got no idea how you even get a download in the computer.
Ask Emma, she'll show you.
Yeah. It is great because you get it instantly, and I know what it's like, that, you know, we all want things straight away now.
Yes.
And that, so a download is good, and then you can obviously view it on your computer screen as well. But yeah, every now and again, technology gets the better of us all, and yeah, they disappear off into the ether somewhere,
Right.
And who knows?
I'm gonna just put it out there. If anybody wants to ask any questions of the guests, we've got about 5-10 minutes. If you want to get questions in, we can kind of hop back and forward if somebody needs anything answering. Other than that, we are free to chat amongst ourselves. We've got lots of people saying they've had a lovely time, they've had a lovely afternoon. Yvonne's asking, will any of us be at the Knitting and Stitching show in Harrogate this week?
Yes, we will be. We will be there.
Yes, I'm
Gail's like,
there.
no, it's too far.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I'm up here for a few days, so I'm up here doing some filming for Dream Fabrics and Meter Fabrics and Fabric Freedom. So I am going to Harrogate on Wednesday, and everybody knows I shout about flatter and soak, and so I am going to be on flatter and soak. See, how good's that? I've just been bought sweets.
Oh, what?
I've just been bought sweets. How good is that?
I'm going to tell Cheyenne Shads for the win.
Yeah, definitely. And coffee. And he bought me coffee just a minute ago.
Is it good, isn't it?
I'm going to be on the flatter and soak stand, and we have got loads and loads of giveaways of flatter and soak. So I'm going to be on there shouting all things flatter.
So does anybody, if anybody doesn't know, what is flatter and what is soak?
So I have quite serious asthma, and I struggle with certain fabric starches and things that are out there on the market. They're too fragrant, they're too perfumed. And so many years ago, I discovered a company called Soak, which produced a fabric starch called Flatter. And they come in the most beautiful flavors, beautiful fragrances, but they are completely natural. They are natural. It's just a wonderful company from Canada. And so we've been trying for many years to get a distributor in the UK, and they are now distributing themselves, which is brilliant. Now, if anybody has had a problem with their jelly roll rugs, with anything like that, as you make your jelly roll rug or your placemats, it tends to curve quite, you know, you do think at some point you're making a bowl or a vase. Now, to keep it completely flat, you need a really good starch, and it's why it went viral for me for Flatter, because Flatter gets rid of those bulk creases. It keeps your jelly roll strip really, really flat. Yes, you can get it from me. But yeah, so if you are at Harrogate, come and see me, say hi, and maybe you might get a free bottle of Flatter as well, or a free sample of soak. Soak, sorry. So soak, that's the other one that I keep forgetting about. So soak is for all your embroidery, for your lace, for your knitwear, for your crochet, for your underwear, swimwear. It's basically a hand wash. You can put it in a washing machine, but it's basically a hand wash. It's in places like Rigby Impeller, you know, posh underwear shops. It's in Harrods. It's all in places like that. But it's specifically for knitwear, lace, all of those beautiful items that we don't want to damage with really harsh laundry detergents. So again, we'll be showing you all of that as well.
Splendid. I've got questions saying, so Totally Trisha was one of the popular Create and Craft guests. Would be great to see her here. And now, we've said this last time, anybody is welcome here. If you want to send a link to those guys, brilliant. if they want to get in touch with us and come and join in, they are more than welcome. A tractor agrees with you about the spray starches. I do want to just go to Katrina briefly and find out what she's up to at Harrogate.
We're going to be busy at Harrogate, so probably snowshoes as well, apparently. But I think the show has sold out for the first 3 days, so it's going to be a busy show. It's a fabulous show. The whole of Harrogate is just Christmas, and it's just perfect. It's a great venue and a lovely atmosphere at Harrogate, and everybody's really, really, really friendly. Lots of things to see. So come and see us and say hello. And have a look at everything there.
Well, if it's sold out, I might have to be tapping you guys up for a little exhibitor's badge to get in at this rate. Hang on.
We'll help you out there.
Oh, that's Yvonne. She's saying wonderful. She'll be there on Friday and she'll come and visit both of you.
Brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
And Sarah Wrightson, it's been a lovely afternoon. Thank you to everybody for all the great demos, hints and tips. And thank you for pulling this all together. So everybody's very excited about a Secret Sewing Club. I've got 2 more bits of admin and then we will head off. The competition for this week, or it's competition, you don't have to do anything. If you purchase one of our Eat, Sleep, Sew, Repeat journals and it comes with a pen, you will be entered into the draw. One person who buys one of these journals, it's a dateless journal, so you can do it, start at any time you like. And it also has little kind of little either puzzles or things to colour in, a little place there where you can add your to-do list, and there's loads of little QR codes with projects and Stitch of the Weeks in there as well. One of the people who order one of these will get £100 voucher for Craft Yourself Silly, and I'm working on something this week which could be a spectacular prize for next week. I'm very excited. Wow. Very excited. Got lots of jobs on. Thank you. It's been a great afternoon. Oh, Gillian's in Scotland, so she's a little bit too far away. See, I prefer doing the messages and the kind of hellos at the end, because then it's when the beginning it's all a bit, we've got to get going.
Yeah. Who's on next?
Oh, who's on? I do know that. That is a good question. That is something I probably should have said. Next week we've got Anthea from Quilting Antics. We've got Handmade by Hayley West and Sally Ann Quilt. So it's quite a quilty week next week.
Yeah, fab.
And when are you guys? Do we know when you guys are back on here? Do I need to find that out?
I know.
I don't know.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm back on the 15th with White Gecko.
15th with White Gecko. Perfect. 15th of, it's got to be December. We're past November now.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm trying to find it. I've got so many windows open and I'm so scared of pressing anything just in case I cut anything off. I am terrified. You want to see it? It's like mission control in here. I was just saying to Sarah at White Gecko, couple more bits of kit and I could be launching rockets. There's that much in here. So, next week, Quilting Antics, Handmade by Hayley and Sally Ann Quilts. It looks like, Sasha, you're back on the 8th of December. Rowan Dean, that's Katrina, you're back on the 15th. Oh, well, you're all back. It looks like you've got exactly the same lineup again on the 15th. Endless Threads, Fabric Freedom and Rowan Dean. There you go. We'll do it all again in like 3-4 weeks' time.
Can't wait.
Right. Such a fantastic afternoon.